What is going on? Vigor Life Podcast is back. And man, every time I say I'm excited because I am. But today we've got, if you haven't heard about Marc Megna, you've been living under a rock, and I'm so excited to have him on the show. We've had him out to speak at both the virtual and in-person Vigor Ground Summit. If you were at the last one he was speaking at, I know there were some tears. I know some people were very, very fired up leaving that event after you were talking, including myself. But first of all, welcome to the show, my friend.
It's good to be on the show, man. It's good to see your face. And I'm looking at you thinking, man, I feel so happy to see Luca, but I feel bad you're in like a skull cap and winter jacket, and I'm in a t-shirt, sweating bullets. So
yeah, I was about to say this is the Seattle, Miami difference. Is like I got all the gear on, and this room doesn't have heating, which is cool. It keeps, the cold keeps me alert.
Tony Robbins, keep them cold. Keep them cold.
Yes, sir. Here's the, like, there's so many, like I said before we kind of turned the record on, so many things to talk about. And I mean, Marc owns anatomy gyms, and if apart from being, I would say, recognized as like the top gyms in Miami, it's, forget about just the headline. If you've ever been there, if you go to Miami, first of all, you got to go to anatomy gyms, and more so because of how they do things, the culture, I would say the cleanliness, the environment, the people. It's amazing. So we're gonna get to that because I really, really want to talk. And you are 100% a culture person, and you can feel the culture. You represent the culture. But before that, I feel like one of the things that's extremely inspiring about you is the path that you took to get to where you are. And I wanted to start there. By the way, for anybody that loves to read, go to Amazon and buy Marc's book, Dream Big, Never Quit. Is phenomenal. And again, it talks about the story, but I wanted to dig in because there are some things that are really, really important for anybody that's struggling or stuck or like, hey, I can't achieve big things. Man, they should listen to where you're coming from and what you achieve. But I wanted to start there. Like, what was the thing that you felt was a catalyst in your life for you to become this person that's so determined, doesn't quit, and I mean, definitely outworks just about anybody that I know?
No, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for your kind words, and I really appreciate it. I mean, going to your event was special. Spending time with you was special, and all the great coaches and people in the industry, and it just it's a really wonderful time experience and a wonderful reset because there's so much good in the industry, and I think being a part of that, it just energizes you. So shout out to you for doing an amazing event. You, Steve, I mean, it's just unbelievable. So thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
To answer your question, I don't know. I mean, there were so many look, everyone has challenges. People come on here and they say, oh man, this was so hard for me. The truth is, I was so average at so much stuff in my life, and I failed so many times, and I didn't like it. I just, quite simply, I didn't like it. And I learned many valuable lessons at a very young age. And one of those lessons were like, look, it just doesn't happen for you. No one's walking through the door and going to save you. It's going to be really challenging, but you can do it. And I was fortunate to have many of those people around me, starting with my mother, my grandfather. I always reference, I didn't have a father present in my life, but it's kind of like you trade off, right? I didn't have a father, but I had every coach I had. Most coaches I had were incredibly loving, hard on me, and caring, and they held me accountable. And all that stuff I just said, like, I didn't like being held accountable. I didn't like coaches like being on top of me and like jamming information down my throat and like nitpicking everything. And I hated it. But Luca, that was precisely what I needed at that age. Like, had I not received that tough love, I know I wouldn't be where I am right now. You know, people say I would be alive, but maybe I wouldn't be alive. I don't know, but I'll probably be alive, just not doing what I'm doing. And it was very hard for me to accomplish things. So now I realize, okay, we can do it, but what is it going to cost us, and how challenging is it going to be? Like it doesn't take me a week, Luca, or a month. It takes me 10 years to be good at something. But I know going in that I'm going to eat it and I'm going to commit to it for 10 years. Right.
And this is, you said three things, actually, I think really, really powerful things, but it being hard on you, but caring, and then keeping you accountable.
Yeah.
It's like a list. If you take one of those out, it kind of doesn't work. And here's the thing too. So what was the time? Because now it's like, you know, you can connect the dots looking backwards. What would you say was the first time that you were like, hey, I'm going to push through something that's really, really uncomfortable to achieve something? Meaning, whether it's making the team, whether it's, you know, changing your body. What was the first time that you were like, man, I'm going to do this, however long it takes? What was that trigger in that moment that got you over the hump, you know, proverbially?
So as a young boy, young kid, I was socially awkward, and kids are making fun of me, whatever. I know that happens to all kids, of course it does, but I had such low self-esteem that I didn't want to show my face in like the neighborhood or in school. And my grandfather, his name was Abe White. And I was talking about him this morning. He was my father's stepfather. Ironically, my father's father died at 49 years old. My father died at 49 years old. The only difference was I didn't really get to know my father. So this gentleman, Abe White, stepped in as a grandfather, and he was my grandmother's second husband. I mean, we hit the jackpot because he was World War II, Jewish war veteran, incredible human being, beyond kind, loving, caring. This guy was like family. Like, he just wanted to be a part of a family, and he knew something that I think coaches know now, but Marc needs to build himself up, and he might need to build his body up from an obese young boy to a fit young boy. But that was second. The first part was he needs to build himself up, and he needs to go through something. So he would, bring me to the gym, and he brought me to the local boys club, and he bought me a gym membership for like $35. And he was like, okay, I bought it for you. And actually, I think it was $19 because I was the kids program. And like, okay, you got to show up every day, and I'm going to bring you. And he showed me how to lift weights. And I've said this many times. I remember walking into the gym, and it wasn't like, hey, I loved it immediately. I didn't love it immediately. I didn't like it. I didn't like it because everything I did was super hard. And then when he said, okay, we got to do 4 sets of that, right? 4 sets of 10, call it whatever you want. I was thinking 4. I can barely do 1. But he's like, no, this is how you get strong. You build up the strength and you tear muscle fibers. And this is my grandfather telling me that. And he said, you're going to make yourself strong. And I said, I know, I want to be strong. And he said, no, you're going to make your mind strong. You're going to make your heart strong. And that's why you have to keep doing this, Marc. And at a young age, I didn't really understand him. But quite quickly, Luca, I was feeling the dopamine hit. I was feeling the awesome energy. And I was like, I do like this. I want to go back. And I didn't want to miss. And I wanted to, every time I went there, it was a small micro win. And I was like, I know I can do this. And when I would train at that age, it's like 12, 13, there wasn't a lot of kids in the gym. They may walk through the gym, but they're not training, right? I know now kids train all over, but I would look up and there was this big poster, and it was a poster, you could look it up, Everett Cinderhoff. And I believe, I don't know if he was the first Mr. Universe winner. Now on the poster, it was black and white, and he was a side pose, and the guy was jacked. And I was like, man, I want to look like him someday. And I would say that all the time. I want to look like him. And my grandfather said, I don't understand. Why do you want to look like him? I said, because he's so muscular and he looks like a superhero. And he goes, Marc, you're bigger than him right now. because I was obese, right? And he goes, I said, what do you mean? He goes, Everett's only 5'6". He weighs like 153 pounds, right? And I was thinking, really? He looks like a giant up there on that big mural with the black and white. And he said, oh, Mark, you're going to be much bigger than him. I said, really? How big do you think I'm going to be? He says 6'1", 6'2", 230 pounds. And ironically, which was the exact size I was in high school as a senior. So I was thinking like, oh my God, my grandfather thinks I'm going to be so like, this is amazing. And which speaks to, there's a lot there, right? He was caring. He filled in when my mother was working. And it was kind of like that one person, look, my mother believed in me. My mother was iconic. Like I talk about her all the time, but I needed a man in my life to believe in me. And he really believed in me, and he wouldn't take no for an answer. So I was like, man, I can do this. And my body as a young person, obviously, I went from being the chubby fat kid to super in shape very quickly because you're young. And I watched what I ate and I was like, man, I feel good about who I am. Like I really start, and my whole life, I was like, that there's something so unique in that, you know, and I know like people talk about it now, like that's really the only way to build confidence. You have to go through it. No one can hand it to you. And I think that's one of the most powerful takeaways you can teach anyone. You gotta go through it.
If you can teach that, you change the world, man. Seriously, because you know when you said that, that's why I asked it too. Because when you have that revelation of like the work is where it's at, and like the work. I read a quote was not that long ago that said, "The work you do works on you more than you work on it," right?
Oh,
And I was like, oh man, this is so true, right? Because that's the work in itself is the reward. And so, you know, when you said that in part two, I remember Martin Rooney, which we both know, and you know, we're talking
awesome,
about this.
awesome guy.
And this is like, you know, over 10 years ago, I asked him, because I'd go through all the Parisi speed videos, and I said, man, like, what is it that you do with the guys that you're always like winning the combines and everything? And he said, Luca, there's one thing that we do. It's not an exercise. It's like believe. Like we believe so much that they start believing. And then when they start believing, they start working harder, pushing extra. And that belief makes them actually do it. You know, and when you said that, when you have somebody that you respect and love, and they give you this aspirational, you know, kind of vision of like, no, like you can be that, you can do that, right? It's so powerful when they start brainwashing you, right? You can brainwash in a lot of different ways.
Negatively, right? Negatively,
Same, exactly, man.
you know?
And I tell people now too, when I coach them, I say, look, man, like every day I'm gonna brainwash the hell out of you into greatness. That's all I'm going to talk about. Like it's all I know, and this is what we're going to do. So I love that you said that. But what was you guys? So now that you got confidence and you've kind of built yourself up to a certain degree, at what point do you go like, all right, look, I'm going to go for you know, not just college, but maybe, you know, playing in the pros when it comes to pro sport, because there is a, you know, there's definitely a difference in the amount of commitment and work that you got to put in. You can be like, hey, I'm working on myself, man, but there's a top, you know, 1% of, I'm not going to, you know, after school, I'm doing 2-a-days, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I went through that world. Like, what was that for you?
Yeah. So, you know, there are a couple of things. So the first thing, you know, I never really got ahead of myself, right? Like nowadays I see like, and I'm not, this is not me taking shots at people, or I just know me. I never really got ahead of myself. Like if I was playing youth football or youth hockey, because I played ice hockey as well, like I was there, right? I really wanted to be a great hockey player, or I really wanted to be a great football player. And I never really said, you know, oh, of course I said, I want to play in the NFL, but I'd say it and then I just put it away. Right. And I was kind of be where your feet are, right? I didn't get it too far ahead of myself. I wanted to be a great youth football player. And then when I got to high school, okay, I want to be the best freshman football player. I want to be the best defensive player. I want to be the best linebacker in the league. I want to like, and what does that mean? And it meant one thing to me. If when you say who is the best defensive player, everyone has to undoubtedly say it's Marc Megna. And if they don't say that, that's not because they don't like me. That's because I'm not. Right? So there has to be like, they can not like the way I run. They could not like the way I play. But when they say who is the best player, they say, you know, I don't like him, but he's the best player. Right? And that was a lot. So I had this thing where I could ultra focused on where my feet were. And I didn't get ahead of myself because I didn't think I could go there. I only thought I could be great where I was. So let me get this first, right? Let me focus on what's in front of me first before I'm doing this and looking down the street. And, you know, I spent a lot of time alone because my mother was working and my brother was with his friends. And I would spend a lot of time thinking about what's possible. And I had this a woman in my neighborhood gave me all these magazines. I ripped all these things out of the magazine, pictures of linebackers, and I plastered my wall. I still have a picture of it. And I would say, you know, I like the way this guy runs. I like the way this guy plays. I like that number. I like the way he wears his pads. I spent all day visualizing. When I make a big play, I'm going to get up and celebrate like that linebacker from Washington, right? I'm going to get up and I'm going to celebrate like Chris Zorich, and I'm going to pump both fists in the air. Junior Seau, the way he pumps his fist. It wasn't like just take a step that way. It was take a step that way, pump your arms the way he does, punch the ball out the way LT does, get up and celebrate the way that guy does. And I spent so much time visualizing it. Like those, everyone says mental reps. For a while, that's all I could do. So in a football game, when there's a running back running down the field and I was running on a pursuit angle, I came hard with my arm and I just punched the ball out. I couldn't believe the ball came out because I had been thinking about it for like 6 years. If I ever see a running back crossing back to the middle of the field or a receiver on a screen, I'm going to punch that ball out. The ball came out. It was like I could have taken the ball from him. And I was thinking, I can't believe I just did something that I visualized for so many years. And then I started to say, okay, then I'm going to keep doing that. So the next I'm going to pick the ball up, or I'm going to sack the quarterback. It was the dream of mine when I was playing in college to sack the quarterback with one arm. And as he was going down, put my finger in the air, like number one in the air, because I saw LT do it. And I'm like, I want to do that.
Yeah, hold up. The question, did you do that eventually?
I can show you the video.
Oh, snap.
I can show you the video. I can literally show you the video. And when I did it, the coach said, make sure he's down before you put your finger in the air. I said, Coach, I had him by the collar. And I was 260 pounds at the time. I pushed him down and I just put my finger up in the air. I was like, I got up and I went like this to my shoulder pads and I pulled him down and I went, I've been dreaming about that moment for like 15 years.
That's crazy.
It was wild.
Here's the thing though, man. Would you say that the word obsessed comes up, you know, as far as like the amount of, you know, work you put in, the visualization? Would you put it this way? Would you call it that then? Would you call it that now?
Yeah. I mean, when I look back at it, you know, sometimes I'm like, you know, I can't believe I did that. But then in hindsight, when I look at all the work that was done and what I was doing, like I lived in a freaking like metal box, dude. Like there was nothing else. Like I didn't care about anything. All I cared about was doing my runs. I was crazy slow. So I became obsessed with being fast because I knew I was slow. And I would tell myself, I'm slow. I need to be fast. And I became a dream to be like, coaches like, oh my God, that guy's so fast. I've been waiting to hear that my whole life, right? I was obsessed with like trying to be better, like the way I move, the way I push. Like if an athlete on the team that I play with is doing 10 reps, I'm really going to try to do 20. And even if I have to put them down and pick them back up, because I didn't have the ability, but I knew I got to do a little bit more. I just knew I had to do a little bit more. So people say obsessed. So I'll tell you this. It's definitely a part of it. I know that's who I am. I will tell you at times, I don't know how to say this. It wasn't necessarily healthy, but
Yeah.
because I obsessed with my thoughts, I obsessed with the way I'm doing it. If I had a game on Friday night or Saturday, I couldn't think about anything else. I mean, I had trouble socializing. Like I only wanted to think about the game. First snap, this is what I'm gonna do. Second snap, this is what I'm gonna do. Third snap, this is what I'm gonna do. This is what I'm gonna do. I have to make sure I have 2 sacks. I have to make sure I have 2 tackles for losses. I have to make sure I have 10 tackles in the game. Like if I do the math over those games, like 10 games, and I have 10 tackles a game, I have 2 sacks a game, I have 2 tackles for loss a game. All of a sudden, you look at the stat sheet, no one can say, he's okay. They're gonna go, holy shit, who is that? And I know that needed to happen to get the result that I was looking for. Because no one goes, you're okay, let me give you a scholarship. Yeah. No one does that. You have to be a friend of mine, Sean, you know Sean Casey.
Yeah.
So I had Sean Casey on my podcast, and his dad told him, you have to be glaringly better than everyone else. And that was precisely what my coaches said. They can't, look, man, they're better athletes than you. They're from bigger schools. They have better reputations. It has to be when they look at them, they have to be this, you have to be this. Because that's the only way to clear up that argument. So obsessed, it's just who I was. Like I had the ability in the moment to think, I don't know if this is going to make me happy, but I know that this is what I want. This is what I want. And I don't get mad at anyone else if they don't want this. This is what I want. And it's important to me. I could care less what anyone else thinks because this is important to me.
Yeah. I mean, the reason I asked it, because I really always try to, extract and figure out, these points. And it's funny because I've been reading through a book, great book. It's called Goldmine Effect. And it talks about, places in the world where people are elite, Kenyan runners, favelas in Brazil, so for soccer and so on and so forth. It's excellent, but it's like, we know what it takes and the 10,000-hour rule, whether it's true and it's not true. And then, I'm listening to a podcast with Bass Rutten on PBD, and it's the things that you're saying, are popping up. And so I was just, wanted to dig in because there's no way to become elite at something without putting that deliberate, you say, be where your feet are. To me, I'm hearing deliberate practice, right? You're there, you're focused in. It's not just, bullshit where you're doing 4 things at once. And it's just no way to get around it. Bass Rutten was like, the thing that I would suck at, I would start doing it so much he's like obsessively. He's like, I would go and change my stance and basically drink tea and then be in front of the mirror for 4 hours for every day during the stance.
100%.
Like crazy. And,
I mean,
and it's,
go ahead, please. I'm sorry.
No, it's just that, like, I guess I want to extract for anybody that wants to do something that, like you said, this is what I want, right? And I remember for me, for basketball, like, height, genetically, like all that, like I was, average, at best, but it's like, so I knew that I had to do all this work, and it was like, I wanted that. And it was the amount of hours, I don't know, I can't even count them. It was endless. Same thing. You dream about it, you read about it, you watch it. And, you just have to put in those deliberate hours. There's no way. I'm trying to figure out every single shortcut that there is, you know what I'm saying? As you're studying things in life. And it's like that you just have to put in hours. And it's funny because the Goldmine Effect actually talks about certain sports is you need way more than 10,000 hours. Right. Because there's so many people that the elite there, the Brazilian soccer players will have 10,000 hours by the time they're 13, unorganized. Right. And it literally says, well, you go to other countries, there's no sport that you can play that much. So you'll get 10,000 hours by the time you're 21 or 18, and you're so far behind. Right. And so that's,
you're behind.
Yes, you're behind, and you're behind, and you just can't, on average, you just can't catch up. And even, and the thing says that they'll be able to determine, as long as you don't have, bad genetics, if they're good enough, that's what they call it. Good enough. As long as it's good enough, you can be elite, and that should be like a really exciting thing, right? That's like, look, you don't have to be the smartest, the fastest, if good enough, can get you in world class if you put in the work.
That's
And then,
very well
and I'm
said.
just hearing you say that, you know what I mean? So that, to me, that's powerful as hell.
I mean, it's very well said, Luca. I spend my Sundays, like now my son's like, he sits on my chest and we watch the football game and I'm looking at these defensive ends, linebackers, and I'm like, you know what? I'm looking at that guy's body. I know that guy's not a he's playing with world-class athletes, but he's not a world-class athlete. He made himself an extraordinary football player, but I'm looking at his body. And then I'm watching him like, who was I watching the other day? Bosa. And I'm like, I watched 2 series of Bosa play against Brady. And I was like, Bosa's like 6'3", 6'4", 270. He runs 40 yards downfield. And then the next snap, he did the same thing. And I was thinking, he gives effort like that all the time. Now, Bosa's an awesome player, but I mean, I can name 25 defensive ends who are way better athletes than Bosa. And that's really the truth. Like, you don't have to be an extraordinary athlete. And in fact, it's almost a detriment if you are. If you're too good of an athlete and it comes natural, it's not going to help you, because the things that some people have to like grind it out and dig deep and show up every day for 20 years, and you don't have to, guess what's going to happen when push comes to shove? I know how this goes because I played with athletes. They were like phenomenal. Like guys would take their shirts off, 6'6", 250, shredded. They run like deer, but they weren't great football players. So every time we see someone like in the gym, they go, oh, this guy would be an amazing football player. I don't say anything, but I'm thinking, why do you think that? Oh, he's fast, he's strong. I'm like, okay. Do you know how many strong, fast guys are that got cut? Like when I was a freshman in college, there was a kid he was a freshman. He showed up, he weighed about 190 pounds. He bench pressed as a freshman. That's 18, right? Maybe he's 19, 18. He benched 410 pounds. He squatted 550. He quit football 2 weeks later. He was terrible. When I saw him on the field, I was like, I can't believe how bad he is at football. And I'll tell you another story. When I used to work at Bomberito Performance.
Yep.
There was an offensive tackle there. When he came in, he did 225 43 times. Okay. And when I saw, he was 6'6", he weighed 312 pounds, 315. The guy, he ran like a wide receiver. He was an offensive tackle. So my friend, who is now my college roommate, his name is Joe Douglas. He's now the general manager of the New York Jets. At the time, he was a scout, which is another great story. He was a scout for 20 years before he became a general manager. Saw his family like 25 days a year. Now he's making like 13 million a year because he's put the time in. He asked me about the athlete, and I said, well, I'll tell you something, Joe. He is a phenomenal athlete. He said, Mark, I saw him play, and I know that he has all the intangibles. He passes the eye test. He's super like fit looking. The guy's got like a 6-pack, and he's 315 pounds. He said, but there's one problem. He can't play football. He's super average. That guy didn't get drafted. He went as a free agent. And the first day we saw those guys test, you were like, that guy's a first rounder. But he couldn't play. Like, playing is different. How many times have you seen a guy? I know I got a lot of stories here, but I was with the Jets. Jermaine Wiggins at the time was a free H-back who went from Georgia to Marshall, or Marshall to Georgia, I forget. He was officially 6'1", 6'2", 250. He had the worst body you've ever seen. Like he was so soft. He had no muscles in his body. I remember standing, watching them run routes in 7-on-7 and 1-on-1s. And I went, that was a really nice route. Lined up again, ran another route, caught a ball. I'm like, man, that dude looks smooth. 1-on-1s, smoked everyone. Worst body, wasn't fast. The way this dude ran routes, he played for like 10 years in the NFL. 2 Super Bowl rings with the Patriots.
Yeah.
And he was just better than everyone else because he put the time in. That dude ran routes. It was like school. Watching him, it was like he made everyone look bad. The best safeties in the NFL, he just made them look bad.
See, and the thing is, and what I'm hearing, is over and over is that exactly. If you get a gift, that most people don't recognize the gift, right? Whether it's athleticism, you can jump, you're 250 and shredded, and it's like, yeah, I got it. And that mindset, right? You don't have that chip on your shoulder, that little bit of that obsessiveness to like where I got to make it happen. Now there are outliers. I'll take. I love obviously basketball. But you got the Kobe Bryant's of the world who's got one, and he had like a relentless work ethic, right? But I think that's I think that's the magic there is exactly that. Like you have to earn that skill, and I don't care what you've been given. If you want to make it to like that top, like you have to earn that skill, and if you can get that, and this is why to me I love having conversations like this, because maybe just one person, two people hear it and go like, man, I get it, like I get it, and if that happens, I'm happy. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah. Here's the thing, Luca. Like, the world is going to tell every kid, it's very unlikely, and the world's not wrong, because most kids won't go all in. And I understand why, because, well, wait a minute, Mark, what if they do all this stuff and they get nothing? And I always say, let me explain this to you. If this young man or young woman, whatever it is, whatever they're committed to, is incredibly committed, they show up every day, they put the time in, they develop their strength, their speed, their sport acumen, whatever it is, and they don't become a professional athlete, but they get a scholarship. Is that failure? They don't get a scholarship. They walk on and they play. Is that failure? They don't play college, but they go through all that stuff and they have a great high school career. Is that failure? They get something amazing because they learned how to commit to something. That skill, most people don't have. They don't understand. Even now, I see trainers and I go, brother, you work part-time. You realize that, right? They're like, I want to make more money. I'm like, I'm looking at your sessions. You work part-time. You want full-time work for a part-time commitment, which I understand. Everyone's trying to hack it, but you would feel better if you actually put in the real time, because then you'd see what you could actually reap. Like, everyone's trying to hack the system. No, bro, you should be making more money. Like, but why should you be making more money? Because you don't put the time in. I have other interests. I said, well, that's fine. I'm not judging that. But what I'm telling you, you're going to be very okay at 5 or 6 things, as opposed to being insanely skilled at one thing. I look at Luca. Luca has a facility. He's a trainer. He has a podcast, does books, does seminars. Did you do that year one?
First 10 years, nothing but being the best coach on the planet. That's
Say that
literally
again.
obsessive.
Say that again.
First 10 years, obsessed.
Probably a little bit more obsessed. That, and the only thing you did was want to be the best coach, not dabbling this, that. I'm gonna do everything I can to work a little bit less. It was, I need to work more, because Luca, that's going to expedite the journey to give me more reps to make me a master.
100%. And I would even say that after the first 10 years, because of putting in that much obsessive work about that thing, other things started opening up because of that. Right. Not like I was searching for those other things, because when you become exceptionally good at something, the doors open because people recognize it. But I mean, the thing is, as soon as you started that, I was like, this guy's in my head. I'm thinking the same things. He said,
you've been there. You lived it.
Exactly. And that, again, that like, you can't give a part-time commitment and reap all the benefits. There's just no way around it. Now, look, you can be honest and go like, well, like, I want to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Okay, cool. So let's be clear about what it is. Just know, like, you will not, because there's somebody that's putting in those hours and they're diving into that, and you will not be better than them.
You won't.
You will not.
You won't. And they think like, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it this way. And I'm going to go. And I always say like, listen, if it makes you happy, do what you want. Like that, you got that. I mean, that's the law of life. You should do what makes you happy. But in 10 years, you're going to go, well, how come I don't have what he has? Or I don't have the reputation he has? Or because you didn't put the time in. Like if you don't have to pay now, you can pay now, you could pay later, but you will pay. You will. And everyone wants to hack it, right? You read books because I know you read one thing in a book that makes you better, mission accomplished. Most people are searching, how do I do this? How do I sneak this through? Like a guy, someone called me the other day about the Cool Knit product. You know the Cool Knit product? I'm sure you know it.
Yeah.
Great product. It works, right? I said, let me ask you a question. What's the intention of this product? Well, it makes it easier to train so you can do more reps. I said, here's the thing. I don't want it easier. I don't want it easier. I want to make it harder so I can build more confidence so I could push through those mental barriers. I'm not trying to hack shit. I got to be honest with you. I'm not. I'm really not, because I can't teach that feeling. That's it.
And the thing is, man, it's like when you get that feeling, that's power. I mean, I'm going to per se, because there's nothing more. You want to build confidence and self-esteem when you push through something really, really, really hard. That's the gift in and of itself. You said like, hey, if you don't make it in, we both had that journey, right? I went from literally from basketball schools to high school. In high school, they told me there's no way I could get a college scholarship, right? Got that. Said there's no way you can play pro. Did that. Now I didn't make it to my dream. I was close to the NBA, but never made it there. But I squeezed the juice out of the orange. And when I look back, I was like, you know what, man, I squeezed the juice out of the orange. That in and of itself was the reward. And then you take those character traits and you take those lessons. And for me, I transferred those lessons into the world of fitness, right? Mm-hmm. Because once I was like, man, coaching is definitely something that kind of grabbed me. And I know it was the same for you. And I actually, this is a thing I really wanted to ask you too, is because your transition from when you went from playing pro in NFL and then you went into training, the time from when you started training and coaching to the time you opened Anatomy, what was that gap and what was that journey? Because there's so many lessons actually that parallel the lessons from football for you.
Yeah. I realized that there was some things in football that were they obviously gave me a foundation and they were good for me. There were a few things there that were really helpful. Like I want to write a book about like why football was so great for me and for a lot of young kids I grew up with. It's like the fastest guy isn't the best. The strongest guy isn't the best. The smartest guy isn't the best. It's the guy who keeps getting up and refuses to stay down. Like, I know it's the Rocky thing, but that's the truth, man. Like, that's like, I wrote something about it this morning. You got to show up, man. Like, do you think playing in front of 80, 90, 100,000 people, walking in as a ramping trainer where my only job was to say hello to clients and clean the floor. Like, that was scary for me. I'm going to be honest. I wasn't in a place that I'm in now, a headspace. I was like, this is going to be embarrassing. Like, people are going to go, why are you doing this? You should be doing this or this. Or I'm like, no. I knew one thing. I actually needed that because I didn't know that world. I knew how to train myself. I knew how to train a group of athletes. Or I thought I did, but I needed to feel that pain and feel like what it's like to start over again. Because if I walked around going, do you know who I am? Do you know what I accomplished? Number one, no one would have listened. And number two, it would have got me nowhere. I needed to shut up. Like as Robert O'Neill always says, never miss an opportunity to shut up. Keep your head down, do your best, work on your craft, listen, ask good questions, and become very good, right? And the goal was to be great, but I need to be very good before I could be great. So like I needed to feel that whole experience. And a lot of it was dude, I was getting up early training, banging out 8, 10, 12 sessions a day. And that was like a couple years, like 8, 9 years. And I learned more lessons. I always say about people, but I learned more about myself, right? I know what I can withstand. I know what I can push through. And I kept telling myself, I mean, there were days, like, it's not that it was hard. It was just, I was in a place where I was playing for my hometown professional team, getting paid very good money, living the life. And now I'm, nobody-ish. Like, there were days I would look myself in the mirror and I'm like crying. I'm like, man, what did I do wrong? Like, why am I doing this? And then I would have conversations with myself where I say, Mark, you're going to help a lot of people. And you're going to help people be strong. You're going to help people feel good about themselves. You're going to build people up, and you're going to create something massive, meaning helping people, and that journey to I learned so much about myself. I can't do this because I don't have the money. I can't do this because I don't have the money, which was fine, because when everyone else was doing those things, I was working. When everyone else was partying, I was in a certification. When everyone else was, going away in these trips, I wasn't taking a vacation. I was working. And I learned to find myself in those moments. Like, what are you doing here Friday night at 8:00? I'm like, I don't know. I like being here. I liked being where I was. I liked the people I worked with. I liked being a part of it. I wanted to be a part of something. We cared about each other. We looked out for each other. I like that.
Man, there's so much to unpack here, but it's like, number one, the first thing that I hear you say is like, you consciously chose, like, you're like, man, this sucks. I'm starting from scratch, but I want it. I want to learn from scratch, and I want to be good. Because if you try to jump the steps from the get-go, this is what I see a lot now too, is like, I'm starting and like, I just want to get to very good. It's like what you said, I want to get to very good in 6 months and a year. And it's like, well,
Yeah.
how do you do that? You know what I mean? Like, all right, start playing ping pong with your left hand and get very good in 6 months. And you'd be like,
Right.
I mean, you won't even be average, right? So in that, like, that decision, I feel is powerful, where you go like, no, I'm gonna do the work. I'm here for it. It's gonna, as Dave Tate says, shit, suck, good, great, right? Yeah. You might be shit at first and get the suck, and you just got to keep moving up and putting the work in on that. So I mean, that's a huge one. And then being like, that's the other thing too. You said, I like being here. I like the people. I like what I was doing. We cared about each other. Like, that's one of the things I feel that's really helped me in my career, is that, I don't go like, I don't want to be here with these folks. Like, I'm excited to be there. Right. I put myself into the work rather than thinking about all the other things that I could be doing.
Yeah, I mean, Martin Rooney said something to me. I think he said it at your event. He said something, when people take pictures, like, look at me, I'm at the beach by myself in Ibiza or like Jamaica, and I'm going, that would suck. Like, I don't want to be by myself on a beach showing you how much money I have. Like, I'd rather be doing it and enjoying, like, people. Like, why I feel great? Because it's fulfilling. Like, I get to be a part of our personal training managers and our body architects and everyone in the team. I'm so blessed and lucky. I don't have to. I get to be a part of their journey. And if I could help them a little bit the way I was helped along the way, I feel amazing. I feel amazing because I'm helping people as people help me. I like that, actually.
Big lesson. What was the time, like, how to actually I know we talked about this, but the transition of where you were like, all right, I'm actually going to do this and start the gym, and you had connected with the partners, and
yeah.
But I know there was obstacles there too. And
yeah.
I love talking about obstacles more than I love to, talking about successes, because I feel you learn so much more about a person, and there's much more wisdom in, hey, tell me when shit went wrong and how did you overcome it, then like, just tell me how things were great and went good.
Yeah. I mean, it's work in progress, but a good friend of mine, I didn't, it's like, I always wanted to have a gym. It wasn't really that I wanted to have a gym. I knew that I wanted to be immersed in a community and build a community, because every once in a while I'll post like a video of us doing like testing day in college, and it's like 20 years old now, and everyone's going crazy and fired up. And I'm like, if I could give people that feeling that they're a part of something, that's going to be extraordinary. And that's where the culture conversation comes in. Like, I want to be surrounded by hard-working overachievers who don't like look the other way when there's work to do. Who are like, let's go. How can I help? And this, like, anatomy is loaded with people like that now, because we're all kind of like that, and we're all doing our best, and we're all pushing. But it wasn't like, let's make a gym. It was, let's build an awesome community. And one of my business partners, Chris, who's an incredible dude, he wanted to have a gym. It was like kind of like a Soho house of the gym and social club, and Chris is just so talented at like creating like finding a space. First of all, that's a talent in Miami, and he could do that better than anyone. And then the design, he's just a super sharp guy. I mean, I wish I could afford him to do a house for me, but anyway, I wanted to have, because I was coming off Equinox and Bomberito Performance, and I wanted to have a place similar. A good friend of ours put our heads together. I think I was thinking more of like sports performance. He was thinking like a luxury high-end facility, put our heads together. And Chris was, instrumental in a lot of the beginning, and just, I mean, he's instrumental now. I shouldn't say that, but it's just coming together. It's unique because you have a business partner. You don't know each other that well, like finding one, working, trusting. It's a journey, man. It's a journey. Like most partnerships don't work, and then we had Randy, investing and doing incredible things. He's just such a smart, savvy guy. And then down the road, months after, David Geller, who's our COO, the dude's a genius. He's super smart. I think I learn more from him every day than anyone. He's such an awesome dude, and we're working hard. We're doing the day-to-day operation stuff. And, when you look back, Luca, when I look back, you kind of think, all right, let's open up a gym. But as you know, no one has any idea what that means. Like people go, hey, I'm going to open up a gym. I go, you should. Good luck with that. Let me know how it goes. And it's not to be mean, or it's just like, because anything that requires that type of commitment will test you. It'll test you. It'll test your heart. It'll test your endurance. It'll test your family. It'll test your relationships, your friendships. It'll test everything. And most people like the sound of that, but they don't like that you're taking phone calls at 9 p.m. because a member is upset. And you got to make it now, because if you don't make the call, someone's going to be upset you didn't get to them. And that's not what we do. We care about people. And if we care about people, you don't just say it, you got to do it. So, it's, I've realized that over the years, a lot of people want more money. They don't want more responsibility. And the responsibilities that come with this, there's a lot there, man. It's like, there's a lot, man.
I'm glad that you said that one, because I actually believe, how people say, what are the reasons that people don't do things? And there's a lot, there's the fear of failure, fear of success. So I think one of them is responsibility. And I can even from my own like personal life say that sometimes when I didn't take a thing on, subconsciously is like, the moment that I take it on, I am now responsible. I'm responsible for maybe the team. I'm responsible for making XYZ happen, because again, it's a lot on the shoulders. You can't, once you say yes and you're in, there's that commitment, and you can't back out. Because if you back out, you might let a lot of people down, yourself down, people that made a commitment to you and the vision. Sure. And so I think that, that reflection of somebody going like, the reason I'm not taking this is because I don't want the responsibility. And it is, it's a big thing. And I mean, again, now you guys are at, I don't, six locations, 7 locations.
We're currently, we have 4 in South Florida. We have 1 in the hotel in Nashville. We're going to open up 1 in Hawaii. And where Doral will be in January, and our new Miami Beach location will be coming 2023.
Oh, hell yeah.
I mean, when you see the new Miami Beach location, I mean, they're all beautiful. The team, Chris, and it's crazy, man. I get so much respect for those guys. I don't even know how they do it, but it's like, but there's so much going on that, I've had people tell me, yeah, well, you're doing it with business partners. I'm like, yeah, because you'd be a moron not to. It's like there's no way. I mean, there's just legal alone is like a gargantuan task. Like it's crazy. Like I don't know what to say. It's there's a lot there, and I think, like as you said before, people say no because the responsibility. I think it's the responsibility, but it's also like if I commit to whatever it is, like I want to do an awesome job, and I know if I don't, I know I didn't do an awesome job. And you only have so many hours in a day. So when you're in a person that has as many responsibilities as a Luca, you have to be super mindful where you give your energy. Like for years and years, I would say, yeah, I'll do that. I'll do this. I'll do that. I can't do that anymore. People mess with me. Hey, can you write 5 things for this magazine? I'm like, I can't do that, man. I can't do that right now because I want to do a good job on it. I do want to do it. I just don't have the bandwidth to do that. Like my responsibilities are, my family, then it's all anatomy. That's what it is. Like people are like, you don't post as much. I'm like, bro, I got news for you. Like I have hundreds of people depending on me. Like I can't just say, yeah, I'm going to do this. This is way more important. Mm-hmm. It's not. I'm going to be honest with you. I have to prioritize.
Well, what the other thing too, like, okay, so when people, because like this happens a lot where people are like, well, Mark, now you're here and you got partners and right? It's like, no, okay, but what were the things that when Anatomy was started, and obstacles too, but what do you feel were the things that created the foundation for it to be successful? And again, I'm gonna, when I go to Miami, and I'm there quite a bit, at least 3 times a year, because my business partner's down there as well. Like there's pretty much one place I train, which is Anatomy. Obviously because it's your place, brother, but also because I love, man, like it's like almost even if I haven't been there for 6 months, I come in, people greet me like, I was just there last week. Like I'm local. The energy is great. The culture is awesome. I mean, it's a feeling more than anything else. It's not like, oh, they got this equipment, that equipment. No, it's a feeling and environment of it. And, how did that come to be? Because now it's like so many years later, but at the beginning, what were the things? Because I think too, when people are starting things or trying to improve them, like, what are the things that they can do that you did that really make them, made the foundation super solid and helped it grow?
I think, we obviously have our core values and everything kind of goes back to the core values, but when you put core values on a wall, you got to like live them. Like that's really, you got to, and if you don't for 1 second, everyone's paying attention. And if you're not doing that, not only are they not going to do it, they don't want to work with you. They just don't. So I think that's really important. And then it wasn't like, oh, let's open up 4 or 5 locations. I mean, we know what we were doing. We just wanted to have success where we were, which by the way, took years. And just focusing on, once again, it goes back to focusing on where our feet were and being the best we could each day. And, people like, you have policies, you have systems, like we do now because of David, but like we didn't have any of that stuff. Like we would just, everything was a one-off. Like, let's take care of it. Let's talk to this person. Let's work it out. What do you think we should do? Let's talk. And when we make a decision, but like what led to it was, how we treat each other was important. How we treat our community and members was very important. And then if we say we're going to do something, we got to do it. And then, hold people accountable. Like that's in a nutshell, that's what it was. I mean, I can't, I'll just tell you that leading or not leading, behaving, doing our best each day with every situation was important. And the people that we brought in, they were team-oriented people. Like you could see that. Like we've had people there that were insanely productive, but they didn't care about anything but themselves. And it's like, man, you want that person because they helped the business make money, but it was like, but it compromises who we are. How can we tell people we're this when this person has a complete disregard for everything that we do? And people see it, by the way.
Yeah.
People see it. So, it's who are the committed ones? When I say committed, not to just showing up and working long hours, who are the committed ones who are committed to each other? And if they're not like that, that's okay. They just can't be here. You've heard that quote. Look, it's not that I don't want you to eat. I want you to eat. You just can't eat at this table. You can eat at another table. I want you to have great success with whatever you do. We just don't do that here. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I mean, this is the cliche thing. I think people hate hearing this, but it's, I think there's a lesson in hearing it over and over and over when you're like, we have these core values, and it's like, you live them. It's actually, if it's worst if you have them and they're clear and you put them up and you don't follow them than if you don't have them. Right. Because
exactly. 1,000,000%.
Because otherwise it's like, hold on, like, you're going to write this on the wall. And like, I see behavior that's not aligned with that everywhere. But the thing is, like, if you do, if all you did was like serve people, did a great job with, coaching, had values that you followed, but you didn't have any systems, you'll be moving in the right direction. I mean, I've seen it over and over again. I was the same way. Like, I didn't have any of that stuff, but for years I was like obsessed with, I'm going to get folks results and make sure they have a great experience and care for them. And, and you do that over and over again, and you live a certain values, whether they're subconscious, and things, improve. But it's like, if there's 10 people that you're looking at and going like, man, I want to build a gym like theirs, and they're all saying it, and they've been in the game for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. Listen, because it's there for a reason. It's not like that. Yeah, but I want to hear the hack. That is the hack. It's the hack. That's the hack, man.
Thank you. There's no, like, you're trying to hack something that it is what it is because of the time that we've put in over the last 8 years, but also the time that each one of us has been learning for 10, 15, 20 years in the industry, and it went into one blender, and you can't hack that. You just can't. And, it's like, I don't care how smart you are, you can't skip that. But that's the thing. Like, when I was at Equinox, everyone was like, you got to get out of here, man. You got to go here. You got to go do this. You got to do this. And I always thought it was very interesting how people are so excited to make decisions and choices and don't have to deal with the outcomes. And I'm like, wait a minute, but how am I going to pay my bills? No, you got that. Don't worry about that. I'm like, I don't think I do. I'm concerned about that. I'm really concerned about that. Yeah, but just you can make it. You got to believe in yourself. Like, hope's not a plan. It's not a strategy, right?
No.
So, it was like, the irony, Luke, is for all the people that told me, I got to move on, I got to do this, got to make a move, don't wait, hustle. The very thing that now most don't want to do, for me personally, is the exact reason why I feel somewhat equipped to do what I do. Because of all that time that people were trying to get me out of, there were hundreds of trainers who came and went. But if you showed up Monday through Sunday, I would be there. You would see me. You'd know my name. You'd know my story. You know what I can do for you. You know I'd like to help you, whatever. I was there. You could depend on that. So now it's like, I don't know if this person's going to be at work, or if they're going to show up, or if they're going to leave at 12 every day, or they're going to just race to the middle. They're doing big things. Like, Like, that's cool, but don't forget that massive chunk, no one else was doing that. And all the repetitions, all the experiences brought me a set of skills that I could have brought to a community, coaching, learning, being the best version of myself so I could assist others.
Man, it's like I have to take a pause on that one, because I hope that sinks in. One thing I wanted to ask, we've talked about this before, that like the different changes, but at the beginning we talked about, and you said, okay, basically pushing you, right? Being hard on you, but caring for you and then keeping you accountable were the big things for coaches and also your grandfather to help you kind of excel. Mm-hmm. Would you change it? So the way that you approach it now with your team, is it the same three? Is there anything that's a little bit different that you feel is kind of like I don't say the magic, but that triangle of things that you try to help your people do to grow?
I just try to remember that, like, everything's we have rules, we have regulations, we have policies, but we don't really have a lot of rules. I'm going to be honest with you. We don't have a lot of rules. It's more like someone's not doing well. What's going on in their life? Like, it's not what the hell are you doing? It's what's going on, man? Like, are you okay? Like, that we start there. I mean, I had a team member say, man, you should run anatomy should be run like the Patriots. I said, bro, if we ran like the Patriots, there wouldn't be anyone here. I'm just letting you know, like, that would never work. And they go, what do you mean? I'm like, if you get a penalty, they cut you. That's it. How many times have you been warned about whatever it is? They go, oh yeah. I'm like, bro, you do that,
you'd be gone.
yeah. I'm like, dude, it's you talk about eggshells. Like, you're walking on eggshells all day. Like, the pressure is so immense. But it's more like, let's listen. How are they doing in their life? How can we help them? And I try to remember, like, people aren't like me. They're not like Chris. They're not like David. They're not like Randy. Like, we're different people, and we try to do the best we can. And all our decisions are made caring, but with the mindset, let's keep the organization moving forward. Like, it's moving forward. And, if we've had a conversation with someone, and we've had to have multiple conversations, there's two things that are really important. Number one, the person has to show that they actually care want to be better. They have to care to want to be better. And they have to be responsible for their actions. Like, if they say, I didn't do anything wrong, that's powerful, right? Meaning, like, if they take no responsibility for the things they do, that's a serious red flag. Mm-hmm. Because we have more of a community. It's like, hey, that was my fault. That's on me. That's on me. It's not like we're looking around the room going, oh, I don't know who screwed that up, but man, they're in trouble. It's like, no. That was my fault. Right. And that's an important factor. And then it's not just, it's my fault. It's like, let's make sure it doesn't happen again. And that's like, what went wrong? What went wrong? Like, David's really good at, like, recapping. Okay, this is what happened. This is, what we experienced. What do we learn from it? How can we be better? It's like an after action assessment, right? Mm-hmm. After action review. And those things are important, right? Don't let the lesson be just wasted. We learn something valuable. How can we be better from it?
And what are you like? This is always intriguing to me. Like, right now in this phase where you're at, what is exciting you about the things that you're learning, or something that you're like, man, I want to get better at this? Or even, again, it could just be curiosity of, like, things that you're studying or things that you're trying to improve for yourself.
Well, I mean, for me, yeah. I mean, the leadership lid. John Maxwell. The leadership lid with John Maxwell.
Absolutely. Yep.
John Maxwell says, for our listeners, I'm sure most of you know it. Faluka knows, he probably shared it with you a million times, but it's like, the more you get up there in regards to responsibility or leadership or both, you realize there's more things you don't know. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, man, I didn't handle that well. I wish I would have handled it like this. Like, I think of some iconic coaches that I know. And I'm like, man, I want to be more like them because they were on top of everything. I just think they had the perception that they were on top of everything, and they certainly missed a lot of things. But I don't want to have a habit of missing things. I tell you that. I don't want that. But it's more like, okay, if I have something to do, I have to follow through immediately. If I don't, I mean, I might have text messages that hundreds of text messages. I mean, I don't have time to get back to certain people. I just don't. And that doesn't mean I don't care for them. I don't appreciate them. It's just that if I have an email, the whole company's waiting on me. They could be, maybe waiting on me to get back to that email, or just out of respect, I got to get back to that email.
Mhm.
So it's, following through on all the things that are important. And then meanwhile, you're keeping a connection with your team leaders to make sure that they're doing everything they're supposed to be doing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And you say, hey, I didn't give them Sunday morning. I send out some messages to the team. Like, I want to make sure the messages make sense, but they're not like overpowering messages. I want to make sure that I'm just sharing things that we need to be mindful of. And, it's more like motivation and let's remain on course, but Luca, honestly, there's so much. I mean, days go by. I have to just put the phone down at like 10 o'clock. I mean, I have to, and
yeah. Well, this leads me, because, man, like, for all the, you have so many responsibilities, such a big team to essentially manage. But, for anybody that doesn't know you, I mean, you are, first of all, a brand new father, which I know is the delight of your life. And, but also, man, like, you're still, I mean, you are, to say in shape would be just an understatement. Like, you get it done. And I, I think for a lot of folks, this is the question I have for you, but people that, are busy, whether they run businesses, they're coaches, man, because you are certainly committed to making sure that you have kind of built the body so that the body can perform in life and do all the things that you have to do. How do you go around that with family, with running this company, and then also obviously taking care of yourself? Do you have any kind of like rules or things that help you do that?
Yeah. I mean, I think getting my my own time in the morning is important. I think it's really important. And look, like I used to come in as like beast mode every day. Now it's like if I need some like 45 minutes or 50 minutes just to do my thing, just because it makes me feel dopamine, but it makes me feel better. Of course, I want to be in shape. I want to look the part, but being like fit and looking, it was like here. And now it's like, all right, it's here. Now I want to feel great about my day because I want to be in the right mindset. Like, I realize if you're like killing it, you're beast mode, you got pre-workout in your system, there's crazy music playing, and then you go in, you get a like customer service to talk to a team member. You're not in the right state. We had a guy who I loved. He came into a meeting, we were talking about education, and he had like a C4 in his system. He just deadlifting. And I said, hey, next time we have a meeting, I don't want you drinking C4 before the meeting. Just don't, because he talked for like 30 minutes and it was like an interactive thing. And it wasn't because he was wrong. It was just because he's so fired up, and God bless him. He's great. And he's a important part of our team. I think the world of him, but I was like, you got to like chill a little bit. Like, you're not in the best headspace like that, and he didn't realize it because he was like at a level 20 on a scale of 1 to 10. But I don't know. It's, we have some good times. I don't know. We have some good times, but taking my own time to train, and just making sure I'm doing a better job with my nutrition and doing everything possible. Because don't forget, if I don't, I can't ask people to do things that I don't do. If I'm not taking care of my body, if I'm not taking care of my nutrition, if I'm not living the appropriate life to set an example, then what's the whole point, right? Like, what's the point? You have to do a great job of it. Am I perfect? No, but I try real hard to set a great example. And we all do that. Everyone really does that. Like, all our body architects are awesome. We have our lead body architects, Andrew, Mason, and James. They're like They're awesome. They do a great job of that. Brandon Price does a great job of that. Jack does a great job of that. Like they understand that they're on stage and it's important to set a positive example. They get it.
You know, did you guys have Martin for an in staff?
Yeah, we did.
Okay. I was good. Cause I swear I was like, I think I saw the picture of it.
We
Cause
saw,
when you said that, like, and I'm on, you know, I've had a fortune. He's one of my closest friends, and
yeah.
I started hanging out with him like 15 years ago, and we toured together doing TFW1 seminars and all that. And like, man, I learned, I was like, this is a show. You know, when you're coaching, you're putting on a show. You got to be a performer. And when you said that, it just triggered me. And then I remembered that he was there too, doing an in staff. But I really still believe that. You know, I share that with my team, and I'm like, look, I've got bad days. I got stuff going on in life that's hard. But when I come in here, you know, I have the honor of coaching these folks, and like, I'm going to put on a show. You know what I mean? Like this, and
you bring in energy, Luca, right? You're bringing something special and unique. Like, look, I grew up with coaches like being, dude, I'm talking about hard. Like, I mean, I give people a smidgen of what I got, and they're like, I'm out. I'm out. I mean, there's no way I'm letting that. I'm like, guys, this is like a fraction. And I understand, but like you don't, you need an exciting, enthusiastic, fun environment. Like that doesn't mean they don't work hard. That doesn't mean they're not accountable. That doesn't mean they don't take it serious. But life is too short, man. Like life is too short. Like days are long. Ooh, golly, days are long, but I love it. And I love the people I get to work with, and I love the team, and I enjoy this. There are parts that I don't like as much, of course, but like this is what we do. You know, this is why we are who we are, and we have a bunch of great human beings who bust their ass. So it's a special thing. It's a special thing to be a part of, and I feel very lucky.
Man, and I can tell you that I've been in this for a long time, and I still, it's weird, you know, caffeine or no caffeine. I'm drinking my C4 or right now, but that, you know, I get inspired by, you know, anytime we talk, anytime I'm down at anatomy, anytime we hang out, it's like, and I love it because I almost feel like, hey, for me, it's almost like the beginnings. You know, I always want to feel like in some sense, it's like it's the beginning. I'm learning, like you said, I always realize, oh man, I could have done that better. Oof, you know, I got to get better here. You kind of start, the more you know, the more you realize there's so much more to know. And man, I can definitely say one thing, that you are the great example. And I point to you so many times. I'm like, guys, follow Mark, go down to Miami, go to anatomy if you're there. I want you to see and extract some lessons. And like, I don't care if, you know, you're a coach, you got a small gym you want to start. There's just so much to learn from that. So I thank you for that, for being a great example, not just again for, you know, for your company, but for the industry.
Well, thank you, and you thank me, and I can't thank. That means a lot. Thank you very much. You know, I thank my business partners because I learned so much from them, and it's got to be that type of environment where we learn from each other, you know, and we defer sometimes. Hey, I'm not the best person to make that decision, but you learn a lot of lessons over the years, and you know, like I know how I want to be spoken to. I know what's important to me, and I want to try. I want people to know that they're just as important as myself, my business partners. Like we're trying to do the best we can, and you know that you have to feel that. If you don't feel it, like it's probably not the best place. But you know, Luca, I heard this the other day. You are where you are because of what you do, the time you put in, the effort you put in. And if you want something grand, you're not going to get something insanely beautiful and magical by doing the least. You're just not, you know. It's going to take time. It's going to take effort. It's going to take heartache. It's going to take learning. It's going to take a little bit of suffering. And if you want that, just know that it's going to be okay. Like you have to go through it. you have to go through it. And I tell the younger trainers that, like, or, you know, any leader that wants to have a conversation, like, you're going to look up in 5 years and go, oh my God, the experiences I've been through and the awesome lessons. You have to want to be a part of that. If you, as you said before, Luca, if you just want to skip it and you're looking for this, and I want to bypass that. A young man told me, he's like, hey, I want to do what you do. I want to do the gym and I want to do this. And I'm like, I just need some tips. And I'm like, well, it's going to take more than that. You know, I could give you this playbook and say, you need to do this, but that you'd fail. Not because you're not good and because this person's better or this person's better. No, just because you need the experiences and the reps and the time. And that's what it is. Like, you know, finding, you know, I don't mean this in a, like, you can always find someone that might want to invest in an idea. But to have someone who invests in you and believes in you and wants to be a part of that, like we have that guy, he's an amazing guy, but you want to do right by it, you know, you really want to do right by it. And you want them to sleep at night and go, you know what? I don't know if it's going to work, but he'll die trying.
Yep.
Powerful thing. That's a powerful thing. As opposed to, I don't know if it's going to work, but this guy's on vacation again. And I don't, you know, it's like, then you're in trouble. Then you're in trouble. So,
man, hey,
thanks so much for having me on, man. Thank you.
I appreciate you, man. Is there to tell me, like, what's the best place if people want to follow you, whether you're posting more stuff or less stuff, or is there a place that you'd want to direct people to?
Yeah, sure. First, Anatomy. Check out Anatomy, at Anatomy. Just awesome, just people. Members or body architects are incredible. If you want to be a part of Anatomy, just message me. If you know, we're always looking for great trainers. Always looking for great trainers. Great instructors, great group fitness. You can follow me at Marc Megna, MarcMegna. You know, if you can check out the book, that'd be amazing. And also, you know, check out the documentary, Just a Kid from Fall River. Randy West made it. That documentary is actually made for kids at risk youth, and show kids like it's going to be challenging, but it's possible. Check out, you can watch it on Amazon, iTunes, check it out. Just a Kid from Fall River. So definitely. Thanks so much for having me on, Luca. You are the man. Thank you. My
pleasure, brother.
All right. Give my best to the team, and I hope your girlfriend feels better.